Hello, hello, welcome back. So, we are continuing to read the novel Lord of the Mysteries by Cuttlefish That Loves Diving. Last time we read chapters 19 to 21. Mm, we learned about some sealed artifacts. We met Old Neil and also read a few of Emperor Rosel's diary pages. So, we are going to continue today with chapter 22. Starting sequence. After he went up the stairs and returned to the reception hall, Klein was about to bid Roseanne farewell when he heard the brown-haired girl mention briskly, "Captain says that you can come on Monday. He wants you to settle your household affairs first." All right, Klein never expected the Nighthawk's management to be so humane and accommodating. It made him feel a little grateful. He was planning on waking early the next morning and making use of the opportunity to wander around to visit Lincoln University. He planned on informing the staff in charge of the interview that he was not participating in the follow up interviews. After all, he had originally obtained the opportunity to make the interview because of his professor's recommendation letter. Regardless, it was basic courtesy to have formal closure. Even if it was not for himself, he had to respect his mentor's wishes, mentor's efforts. And in a world without telephones, where telegrams were charged by the character, and the fact that it would be too late to send a letter, he felt like taking the public carriage to the university was the most economical and suitable solution. Having received Captain's special approval, Klein did not need to tire himself out. He could wake up late and still make his way there on time. Klein was just about to take off his hat to Miss bid Roseanne farewell when he suddenly thought of something. He looked around and suppressed his voice. "Roseanne, do you know what the starting point of the church's complete sequence is?" He had forgotten to ask old Neil. Roseanne's eyes widened as she looked at Klein in astonishment. "You wish to become a beyonder?" Was I that obvious? Klein's body language betrayed him as he answered in embarrassment. "Having learned that the extraordinary and mysterious powers exist in the world, it's inevitable that I have some yearnings for it." Oh my goodness. Oh my goddess. Do you know how dangerous it is? Didn't Captain tell you? The enemies of Beyonders are not just cultists or dark warlock. Enemies of Beyonders are not just occultists or warlords, but themselves. People lose control nearly every year. Some even end up sacrificing themselves. Aren't you going to consider how your family will feel? Roseanne's gestures amplified her tone as her reaction appeared overly agitated. "Client, I think it's better choice to be a civilian staff. There's nearly no danger, and our salary increases every year. After a few years of work, you will have saved up much money, allowing you to rent a bungalow in the North Borough or in the suburbs. You can then marry a rich and charming lady and have a wonderful family, having adorable and naughty little angels." "Roseanne, stop! Hold up!" Klein hurriedly stopped her in exasperation, and when he realized he was changing the subject. I just want to well understand the basics now." "All right." Roseanne fell silent for a few seconds as she lowered her gaze, feeling somewhat sorry. "Due to what happened to my father, whenever I face similar problems, I tend to be, well, no, a little agitated. However, to be honest, I am filled with respect towards any man or woman who willingly wishes to be a nighthawk." I understand," echoed Klein. Roseanne blinked her light brown eyes and added, "My father once said that one should never think that they can resolve hidden risks or combat danger by simply becoming more powerful or a higher sequencer. In fact, it's the opposite. They will encounter more terrifying matters. When facing the unknown or a terrifying existence, death and insanity are the only two outcomes." He ended up sacrificing himself 2 weeks after saying that. Client, don't look at me with pity. My life is great now, really great. It's only right to feel fear towards these matters. I only want to know the basics. Client repeated his previous reply, not sure whether he should laugh or cry. Captain explained it more clearly than you. And even if I do not become a beyonder, I have already encountered something extraordinary. All right, said Roseanne ruminatively. I've heard captains and old Neil's conversation before. As extraordinary creatures are declining or going extinct, very few high sequencers exist in this era. It's already very impressive to become a beyonder. Combining our Tengan city and suburbs, there are hundreds of thousands of people, or maybe even more. Yet there are only about 30 plus beyonders. Well, it's just my guess. I'm not counting the cultists or dark warlords who hide in the dark. Without waiting for client's reply, she seemed to regain her vibrancy as she clenched her fist and brought it to her chest. And among these 30 plus beyonder, most of them are sequence 9. It seems I have gone off topic again. It's okay. That was something I wanted to know as well. Clan wished that Roseanne could be like her usual self, revealing more information as she rambled on. Anyways, it's already very, very impressive to become a beyonder. Roseanne repeated herself. The starting sequence of our church's complete sequence is sleepless. Sequence 9, sleepless. Indeed, Clan nodded as he watched Roseanne, finding it hard to stop herself from describing it in detail. You should be able to guess from the name. A sleepless is someone who does not need to sleep at night. 3 to 4 hours of rest in a day should be sufficient. Man, I'm so envious. No, no, not at all. Sleep is a gift bestowed to us by the goddess. It's the truest bliss. Where was I? Ah, right. A sleepless can see through the darkness even without any lights. The deeper into the night, the more powerful they become. I mean, more powerful in the aspects of their physical strength, their intuition, and their mental capabilities. However, although they can detect unknown dangers that lurk in the dark, they still have to rely on demon hunting bullets and other items to handle monsters they are unable to deal with via normal means. My father was once a sleepless. Without waiting for client to press on, she continued. After that, its sequence eight's Midnight Poet, and one level higher is sequence seven's Nightmare. Nightmare? Klein instantly recalled that Dunsmith had guided his dreams. He asked as a confirmation, Captain? Oh, oh, you know about it. Roseanne's mouth nearly turned into an O shape. Captain once entered my dream. Klein glanced around as he lowered his voice once more. Got it. Roseanne was enlightened as she answered in a whisper. She picked up a coffee cup beside her and took a sip before saying wistfully, there are only 2 Sequence 7 Beyonders in our Tengan City's church. It's likely Captain is one of them. Even if he goes to a large diocese like Backland, he is still an impressive figure. Some deacons might not even be stronger than he is. So Captain is that impressive, Klein echoed with a smile. Frankly, Dunsmith's appearance last night had left a deep impression on him. He basically believed that Dunn was an extremely powerful beyonder. Of course, Roseanne proudly straightened her back. In moments, the scatterbrained her said with a vexed expression, as for what's above sequence 7, I have no idea. Among all the Nighthawks, perhaps only the captain knows. Then what about the other starting sequences, the one that aren't complete? Clan was satisfied as he changed the subject. It had to be said that Roseanne's description of Sleepless did match his imaginations and expectations of Beyonders. However, it was not the kind he wished to become. The perfect sequence 9 was likely one that could study and grasp more knowledge of the mystery. By doing so, he could leverage on them to figure out the reason for his transmigration and lay the foundation of his future transmigration back. Roseanne thought for a moment before saying with a sigh, I am not that interested in this aspect. I only know we have more than other churches. After all, the goddess is the mother of concealment. Well, there should be 2 or 3. Some of our teammates are cold and distant, making me fear them. They also have a strange smell to them. Some members Well, I mean, you should talk to old Neil. He knows a lot as well as quite a number of interesting magical rituals. Let me think. He once mentioned his Sequence 9 title, which is also a name of the potion formula. Ah, yes, it's called Mystery Prior. Quite a number of interesting magical rituals. Mystery Prior sounds very close to what I want. Klein was slightly delighted. In addition, I also know of a sequence of a seven, the kind that's incomplete, Roseanne said with a flaunting tone. She had just thought of it while recollecting. What is it? Klein asked, abnormally curious. In a world where high sequencer is scarce to the point of them possibly not existing, sequence 7 was probably considered quite potent force in the church. Roseanne revealed a sweet smile as she replied smugly. Spirit medium. Madam Daly? Asked Klein subconsciously. After his initial surprise, he realized it was nothing unexpected. Only Sequence 7 Beyonder could achieve such an impressive performance as a medium. Roseanne's eyes widened once again as she said in disbelief, how do you know of that too? I've met Ma'am Daly. Client did not hide this matter. All right, Roseanne said with an envious tone. If I can become a spirit medium, one just like Miss Daly, Ma'am Daly, then I'll be willing to become a Beyonder too. No, I'll consider it carefully for 10 minutes. Yes, Madam Daly fulfills all my imaginations as a Beyonder, echoed Klein in a slightly exaggerated manner. Having fulfilled his goals, he chatted idly with Roseanne for a few minutes until he realized he was not getting any new information. He took off his hat and bowed before leaving. As he walked down the stairs, Klein suddenly stopped after taking a few steps. He reached out to pat one of the notes in his inner pocket. Immediately following that, he took out 12 gold pound notes, clenched them tightly in his left palm. Then he reached out his hand into his pocket and refused to release or pull them out again. Without realizing, a smile appeared on his face. According to the customs of the Fudolic Empire, a treat to dinner was an order after earning money. It's time to give Melissa a treat tonight. Chapter 23 Sidearm. As Klein walked down the Zortland street, and while taking in the warm, humid breeze, he suddenly realized something. He only had 3 pence of change. If he returned to Iron Cross Street by a public carriage, it would cost him 4 pence. If he were to hand over one gold pound note, it would be akin to using $100 bill to buy a bottle of cheap mineral water back on Earth. There's nothing wrong with it, but it was just quite awkward to do so. Should I use 3 pence to travel 3 kilometers and walk rest of the journey? Klein reached into his pocket with one hand as he slowed down his pace, considering other solution. That won't do. Soon he rejected the idea. It would take him a while to walk the remaining journey. Considering how he was carrying 12 pounds, amassing fortune, it was not safe. Furthermore, he had deliberately not brought the revolver with him, afraid the Nighthawks would confiscate it. If he were to encounter the danger that instigated Welch's death, there was no way he could fight back. Get some change from the nearby bank? No, no, no way. There's a 0.5% processing fee. That was too extravagant. Klein shook his head silently. Just the thought of the fees involved pained his heart. After ruled out one solution after another, having ruled out one solution after another, Klein's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw a clothing shop in front of him. That's right. Wouldn't the normal course of action be to buy something appropriately priced to get some change? A formal suit, shirt, vest, trousers, leather boots, and a cane were all within budget. They had to be bought sooner or later. Oh, it's very troublesome when fitting clothes. Besides, Benson knows more about this than me and he's better at bargaining. I should consider only after his back. Then, should I buy a cane? That's right. As the saying goes, a cane is a gentleman's best choice of defense. It is half as good as the crowbar. Gun in one hand and cane in another is a combat style of a civilized person. After debating internally, Clan made up his mind and turned around. Entering the clothing shop, Wilker Clothing and Hats. The clothing store's layout resembled the clothing stores on Earth. The left wall was filled with rows of formal attire, the middle rows decked with things like shirts, trousers, vests, and bow ties. On the right were leather shoes and boots placed inside glass cabinets. Sir, may I help you? A male salesperson dressed in a white shirt and red vest came over and asked politely. In Lowen Kingdom, rich and powerful gentlemen of high standing enjoyed wearing black suits consisting of white shirt matched with black vest and trousers. The colors were relatively monotonous, so they required their male servants, salesperson, and service attendants to dress more brightly and colorful in order to distinguish themselves from their masters. In contrast, the ladies and mistresses wore dresses of all kinds in glamorous fashions. As such, maid servants would wear black and white. Klein thought for a moment before answering the male salesperson's question. Okay, something heavier and harder, a kind that can crack the skull of others. The red-vested salesperson sized Klein before leading him into the store. He then pointed to a row of canes in the corner. That cane inlaid gold is made up of iron heart wood. It's both very heavy and hard. Costs 11 soli 7 pence. Do you want to give it a try? 11 soli 7 pence? Why don't you go rob a bank? Big deal with gold inlay. Klein was shocked by the price. With an unperturbed expression, he nodded gently. All right. The salesperson took down the iron hardwood cane and carefully handed it to Klein, seemingly afraid Klein would drop and break the merchandise. Klein took the cane and found it heavy. He tried moving with it and discovered he could not sway it smoothly as he wanted. It's too heavy. Klein shook his head in relief. This is not an excuse. The salesperson took back the cane and pointed at other three canes. This is made up of walnut wood created by Tingen's most famous cane artisan, Mr. Hayes. It's priced at 10 solely 3 pence. It's made of ebony wood and inlaid with silver. It's hard as iron, costing 7 solely 6 pence. This is made from the core of white bodhi tree and inlaid with silver, costing 7 solely 10 pence. Clive tried each of them and found them appropriate weight. He then tapped them with his fingers to gain an understanding of their hardness. Finally, he chose the cheapest one. I'll take the one made from ebony wood. Clive pointed to the cane with silver inlay, which the salesperson was holding. No problem, sir. Please follow me to proceed with the payment. In the future, if this cane is scuffed or stained, you can hand it to us for handling for free. The salesperson led client to the counter. Client took the opportunity to release the 4 gold pound notes from his tight grip and remove two of the smaller denomination. Good day, sir. It will be 7 soli and 6 pence. Cashier behind the counter greeted with a smile. Klein was planning on maintaining his gentlemanly image, but when he extended his hand with 1 gold pound note, he could not help but ask, Can I get a discount? Sir, what we have is all handcrafted, so our costs are very high, the salesperson behind him answered. Besides, since our boss isn't here, we are unable to lower the prices. The cashier behind the counter added, Sir, sorry about that. All right, client handed the note over and received the black silver inlaid cane. While waiting for the change to be given to him, he took a few steps back and distanced himself from them. He swung around his sidearm as a test. The wind sounded heavy when the cane sliced through the air and Klein nodded in satisfaction. He looked forward again, prepared to see notes and coins, but was appalled to see the red-vested salesperson retreating far away. The cashier behind the counter had retracted into a corner, leaning close to the double-barreled shotgun hanging to the wall. The Lowen Kingdom had a semi-regulated policy on firearms. To possess a firearm, one needed to apply for an all-purpose weapons permit or a hunter's license. Regardless of which type, one could still not be in possession of restricted Military firearms such as repeaters, steam pressured guns, or six barrel machine guns. An all purpose weapon permit could be used to purchase or store any kind of civilian firearm, but earning the certificate was extremely troublesome. Even merchants of substantial standing might not be approved. A hunter's license was relatively easy. Even farmers in the suburbs could receive approval. However, the license was limited to hunting guns with restricted numbers. People with sizable assets would tend to apply for one to use it for self defense in emergency situations as such as now. Client looked at the two wary salesperson at the corners of his mouth twitched. He chuckled dryly. Not bad, this cane is perfect for swinging. I am very pleased. Realizing that he had no intention to assault them, the cashier behind the counter relaxed. He handed over the notes and the coins he had taken out over with both hands. Client took a look at what he received and saw two 5 soldi notes, two 1 soldi notes, and a 5 pence coin, and 1 penny coin. He could not help but nod inwardly. After a 2 second pause, he ignored the way salesperson looked at him and unfurled the four notes towards the light to ensure the anti-counterfeit watermarks were present. Client put away the notes and coins when he was done. With a cane in hand, he tipped his hat and walked out of the Wilker clothing and hats. He extravagantly spent 6 pence by taking a short distance trackless carriage before transferring once before reaching home safe and sound. After closing the door, he counted the 11 pounds and 12 soldi notes thrice before placing them into the desk drawer. He then found the bronze revolver with the wooden grip. 5 brass bullets fell onto the table when Klein inserted the silver demon hunting bullets, which had complicated patterns and the dark sacred emblem into the revolver's cylinder. Like before, he only inserted 5 rounds and left an empty spot to prevent any misfires. The remaining rounds were placed together other with the other 5 ordinary bullets in small iron case. He snapped the cylinder in place, giving him a sense of security. He excitedly lodged the revolver into the holster at his armpit and buckled it securely. Then he repeatedly practiced unbuckling and drawing the gun. He rested whenever his arms ached, and this continued until sunset when he heard the sounds of Tennant walking along the corridor outside. Klein let out a foul breath before putting his revolver back into his underarm holster. Only then he only then did he take off his formal suit and vest. He wore back his usual brownish yellow coat and swung his arms to relax them. He heard the sounds of nearby footsteps before twisting the sound of an inserted key. Melissa, with her soft black hair, entered. Her nose twitched a little as she swept her gaze towards the unlit stove. The luster in her eyes dimmed slightly. Klein, I'll heat up the leftovers from last night. Benson will be likely home tomorrow. Melissa turned to look at her brother. Klein had his hands in his pocket as he leaned against the edge of the desk, and he smiled and said, No, let's eat out. Eat out? Lisa questioned in surprise. How does Silver Crown restaurant at Daffodil Street sound? I heard they serve delicious food, Klein suggested. But Melissa was still confused. Klein grinned and said, To celebrate my new job. You found a job? Melissa's voice rose unknowingly. But isn't Tingan University interview tomorrow? Another job. Klein gave a faint smile before fishing the stacked notes from the drawer. They even gave me an advance of 4 weeks' pay. Melissa looked at the gold pounds and solely as she widened her eyes. Goddess, what job did you get? Klein's expression froze as he deliberated on his words. A security company whose mission is to seek, collect, and protect ancient relics. They were in need of a professional consultant. It's a 5-year contract earning me 3 pounds a week. Were you vexing over this last night? Asked Melissa after a moment of silence. Klein nodded. Yes, although being an academic at Tingan University is respectable, I prefer this job. Well, it's not bad either. Melissa gave an encouraging smile. She asked half subconsciously and half curiously, why would they give you an advance payment of 4 full weeks? It's, be- it's because we need to move. We need a place with more rooms and a bathroom that belongs to us, said Klein while grinning and shrugging. He felt that his smile was impeccable, just short of the word surprised. Melissa was stunned momentarily before she suddenly spoke out in a fluster. Klein, we are living quite well now. My occasional grumblings of not having a personal bathroom is just a habit. Do you remember Jenny? She lived next door to us, but ever since her father was injured and lost his job, they had no choice but to move to Lower Street. The family of five ended up staying in one room, with three of them sleeping in a bunk bed and two of them sleeping on the ground. They even wished to rent the remaining empty spot to someone. Compared to them, we are really very lucky. Don't waste your salary on this matter. Besides, I love Mrs. Mirin's bakery. Sis, why is your reaction completely different from how it played out in my head? Client's expression went blank when he heard his sister. Chapter 24, Penny Pincher. The sky outside was gradually dyed golden as Client looked into Melissa's eyes. He was momentarily at loss for words. None of the lines he prepared could be used. He coughed lightly twice as he quickly racked his brains. Melissa, this isn't a waste of money. Waste of salary. In the future, my colleagues as well as Benson's colleague might visit. Are we going to host them in such a place? When Benson and I get married and have wives, are we still going to sleep in bunk beds? None of you have fiancés, right? We can wait a little while and save up more money in the meantime, answered Melissa in a logical, concise manner. No, Melissa, this is a societal rule. Klein was stumped and could only count on lofty principles. Since I'm earning £3 a week, I should look like I'm earning £3 a week. To be honest, having rented an apartment before with others, Zomingui was no stranger to his present living conditions as Klein. He was very used to it, but it was because of his past experience that he knew how inconvenient such an environment was for a girl. Furthermore, his goal was to become a beyonder and study mysticism to find his way home. In the future, he was bound to conduct some magical rituals at home. Having too many people in the apartment building made incident prone to happen. Client saw Melissa was about to continue arguing and hurriedly added, no, don't worry, I'm not planning to get a bungalow, probably a terrace. Basically, it has to have a bathroom we can call ours. Also, I like Mrs. Mirren's bread, Tingen biscuits, and lemon cakes too. Can first consider places near the Iron Cross Street and Daffodil Street. Melissa pouted her lips slightly and fell silent for a moment before nodding slowly. Besides, I'm in no rush to move either. We have to wait for Benson to return, said Klein with a chuckle. We can't have him be shocked when he opens the door to find nothing, right? Imagine him saying in astonishment, where are my things? Where are my siblings? Where's my home? Is this my home? Did I make a mistake? Goddess, wake me up if this is a dream. Why is my home gone only after a few days of absence? His mimicking of Benson's tone made Melissa involuntarily smile as her eyes scrunched up and revealed her shallow dimples. No, Mrs. Frankie would definitely be waiting by the door to get Benson to hand over the apartment keys. Benson wouldn't even be able to come up. The girl despised the miserly landlord. In the Moretti household, all of them would like to make Mr. Frankie the butt of their jokes for every trivial and major matter. It was all thanks to Benson who initiated this practice. Right, there's no way he would switch locks for the tenants after us, Klein echoed with a smile. He pointed at the door and quipped, Miss Marisa, shall we head to the Silver Crown restaurant for celebration? Melissa sighed gently and said, Klein, do you know Selina, my classmate and good friend? Selina? The image of a girl with wine red hair and deep brown eyes, surfaced in Klein's mind. Her parents were Evernight Goddess believers. They had named her after Miss Saint Selina as a blessing. She was not yet 16 and was half a year younger than Melissa. She was happy, cheerful, and outgoing lady. Yes, Klein nodded in information. Her elder brother Chris is a lawyer. He currently earns close to £3 a week as well. Her fiance works part-time as a typist, described Melissa. They have been engaged for more than 4 years. To ensure a decent and stable life after marriage, they are still saving money to this very day. They have yet to go down the wedding aisle and plan to wait at least another year. According to Selena, there are many people like her brother. They typically get married after 28. You have to make advanced preparations and save up. Don't squander your money. It's just a meal at a restaurant. Is there a need to preach at me? Klein was rendered at a loss whether to laugh or cry. After a few seconds of thought, he said, Melissa, I'm already earning £3 a week, and I'll have increments every year. There's no need for you to worry. But we need to save some money in case of any unexpected emergencies. For example, what if the security company suddenly goes down? I have a classmate whose father's company went bankrupt. He had to find temporary work at the pier, and the living conditions turned terrible instantly. She had no choice but to quit school, advised Melissa with a serious expression. Klein extended his hand to cover his fate. That security company and the government, yes, it has some connections with the government. It will not easily go down. But even the government is unstable. After every election, if a party is in power changes, many people will have their positions stripped off. It turned into a mess. Melissa retorted in an unyielding manner. Sis, you sure know our plan found humor in in his exasperation as he shook his head. All right then. Then I'll boil some soup with leftovers from yesterday. Buy some pan-fried fish, a slab of black pepper beef, a small bottle of butter, and a cup of malt beer for me. Anyways, there should be some celebration. They were commonly sold items by the hawkers on Iron Cross Street. A piece of pan-fried fish was 6 to 8 pence. A not so big piece of black pepper beef was 5 pence, a cup of malt beer was a penny, and the bottle of butter weighing about a quarter pound was 4 pence. But buying a pound of butter would only cost solely 3 pence. The original client was responsible for buying ingredients during holidays, so he was no stranger to the prices. Client did a quick estimate that Melissa would need about 1 solly and 6 pence. Therefore, he took out a 2 1 solly notes. All right, Melissa did not object to client's proposal. She put down her backpack of stationery and took the notes. When he saw his sister taking out a tiny bottle for butter and pots for other food before briskly walking to the door, Clan thought for a moment and shouted to her, Melissa, use the remaining money to buy some fruit. There were many hawkers on Iron Cross Street who would buy low quality or expiring fruits from other places. The residents were not outraged about this because the prices were extremely cheap. They could taste the magnificent they could taste the magnificent flavors after removing the rotten parts, so it was a cheap enjoyment. With that said, Clint took a few brisk steps forward and took out the remaining copper pennies in his pockets and stuffed it into his sister's palm. Ah, Melissa's eyes looked at her brother in puzzlement. Client took 2 steps back and smiled. Remember to go to Mrs. Smirin's. Reward yourself with a tiny lemon cake. Melissa's mouth widened as she blinked. Finally, she said a single word. Okay. She quickly turned around, opened the door, and ran towards the stairwell. A river tore through the land with cedar and maple leaves trees lining the banks. The air so fresh it was intoxicating. Klein, who was here to put closure to his interview, had his revolver with him. He held his cane and paid 6 pence for the public carriage. He walked down a cemented path and approached a 3-story stone building which was shaded by greenery. It was Stingan University's administrative block. It's truly worthy of being one of the two major universities of Loan Kingdom. With this being his first time here, Client sighed as he walked. Compared to Tingen University, Khoi University right across the river could only be described as shabby. Heave ho, heave ho. Voices approached slowly as two rowing boats made their way upstream across the Khoi River. Oars were being rowed in an orderly and rhythmic manner. This was a rowing sport that was popular among the universities in the Loan Kingdom. With Klein requiring a scholarship to finance his university studies, he, Welch, and the others had joined Coy University's rowing club and were pretty good at it. This is youth. Klein stopped and looked into the distance before sighing wistfully. Such sights would no longer be seen in another week since school would break for summer. As he proceeded down a road sheltered by trees, Klein stopped at a three-story stone building. He entered after successfully registering himself and easily found his way to the office of the person who had tended to him the other time. Knock, knock, knock. He knocked lightly on the half closed door. Come in, a man's voice sounded from inside. A middle aged instructor dressed in a white shirt and black tuxedo frowned when he saw Klein enter. There's another hour until the interview. Mr. Stone, do you still remember me? I'm a student of Senior Associate Professor Cohen, Klein Moretti. You have read my recommendation letter before. Klein smiled as he took off his hat. Harvin Stone stroked his black beard and asked, puzzled, is there something wrong? I'm not in charge of interviews. Here's the situation. I've already found a job, so I won't be participating in the interview today. Klein gave his reason for coming. I see. When Harving Stone learned of the reason, he stood up and reached out his right hand. Congratulations. You are really a polite lad. I'll inform the professor and senior associate professors. Klein shook Harvin's hand and planned on making a little small talk before bidding him farewell when he heard a familiar voice behind him. Moretti, you found another job? Klein turned around and saw an elder with a head of silver hair that left a deep impression on his silhouette. His deep blue eyes sunk deep into his face, and he had few wrinkles. The man looked sharp in his black tuxedo. Good afternoon, mentor, Mr. Isaac. He hurriedly greeted. He hurriedly greeted. Why are the two of you here? The elder was none other than Senior Associate Professor of Coy University's History Department, who was also his mentor, Mr. Quentin Cohen. Cohen. Cohen? Beside Cohen was a middle-aged man with bronze-colored skin of average build. He did not have any facial hair, and he held a newspaper in his hand. His hair was black and his pupils brown. His facial features were soft as his eyes revealed an indescribable sense of weariness, like it had seen the vicissitudes of life. Beneath his right ear was a black mole, which could only be seen if he looked at carefully. Klein recognized him since he was Coy University's history department lecturer, Mr. Azek, who often helped the original Klein. He enjoyed debating with his mentor, Senior Associate Professor Cohen. They often had a clash of opinions, but even so, they were best friends. Otherwise, they would not have enjoyed meeting up for chat. Cohen nodded and said in a relaxed tone, Azik and I are here to participate in the academic conference. What kind of job did you get? It's a security company which seeks, collects, and protects ancient relics. They were in need for a professional consultant and are paying me £3 a week. Klein repeated what he said to his sisters yesterday. Following that, he explained, as you know, I prefer exploring history instead of summarizing it. Cohen nodded slightly and said, everyone has their own choices. I am very happy that you bothered to come to Tingen University to inform them instead of just not showing up. At that moment, Azik interjected, Client, do you know what happened to Welch and Naya? I read it in the newspapers that they were killed by burglars. The incident has become a case of armed burglary. Burgl- the incident has become a case of armed burglary. And why is it already in the newspapers? Klein was taken aback as he weighed over his words. I'm not clear on the specifics as well. Welch had obtained a diary of Solomon Empire's Antigonus family from the fourth epoch. He sought my help in interpreting it. I helped them for the first few days, but later I got busy with job hunting. The police even came to me 2 days ago. He deliberately diverged the matter regarding the Solomon Empire and Antigonus family in hopes of getting any information from the two history teachers. The fourth epoch, Cohen muttered with a frown. The bronze-skinned and the weary-eyed uh, Azek went blank first before he inhaled. He rubbed his temple with his newspaper-wielding left hand and said, Antigonus rings a bell, but why can't I remember? All right, we'll stop here for today. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye bye.